The modern workplace has become a dangerous emotional minefield where the very qualities that make us good colleagues, kindness, loyalty, trust, and genuine care for others, are systematically exploited by individuals who view professional relationships as hunting grounds for personal advancement. Here's a paradox that will shake your understanding of workplace dynamics. The people who hurt us most are often those we help the most, and the professional environments designed to foster collaboration have become sophisticated theaters where calculated manipulation masquerades as authentic connection. The unspoken rules of professional environments often blur when human connections begin to form, and nowhere is this more evident than in the late-night service industry, where exhaustion meets vulnerability. Picture this scenario. After countless hours of dealing with demanding customers, cleaning glasses, and restocking inventory, a barback finds himself in that peculiar state of fatigue where genuine kindness feels both natural and necessary. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead as he counts the last bills in the register, his shoulders aching from the repetitive motions of his trade. Yet, when he sees his new colleague gathering her things with that unmistakable look of dread at the prospect of waiting for public transportation at such an ungodly hour, something stirs within him, a mixture of professional camaraderie and basic human decency. The environment of trust that workplaces should foster suddenly feels very real and very personal. His offer of a ride isn't calculated, it's instinctive, born from the shared experience of surviving another grueling shift together. This nightly ritual becomes a bridge between the professional world and something more intimate, where the boundaries of workplace relationships begin to shift like sand beneath their feet. As they walk toward his modest vehicle, there's an unspoken acknowledgement that this gesture transcends mere convenience. It's an act of loyalty, a recognition that they're both part of something larger than themselves. The late-night streets become their private corridor, away from the chaos of the pub, where authentic connection seems not just possible, but inevitable. Night after night, this routine continues, and with each journey, the professional distance slowly dissolves into something that feels remarkably like friendship, perhaps even more. The frustration of long shifts transforms into anticipation of these quiet moments together, where the weight of service industry stress lifts momentarily. These rides become sacred spaces where two people, bound by the shared experience of workplace fatigue, find solace in each other's company. The trust built during these journeys feels genuine, rooted in the mutual understanding that they're both just trying to make it through another day. However, what appears to be a blossoming connection built on workplace solidarity may be concealing layers of complexity that neither party fully comprehends at this moment. The very foundation of trust that seems so solid in these late-night drives might be tested in ways that will reveal the true nature of human intentions and professional relationships. As we delve deeper into this narrative, we'll discover how the environment that breeds such apparent loyalty can also become the stage for profound betrayal, teaching us invaluable lessons about reading between the lines of workplace dynamics. The learning process that unfolds from these seemingly innocent beginnings will challenge everything we think we know about professional boundaries and personal connections. Sometimes, the very gestures that appear most genuine are the ones that set us up for the most devastating disappointments. And this story will illuminate why recognizing these patterns is crucial for anyone navigating the complex world of workplace relationships. The nights blend together in a comfortable rhythm, each ride becoming a small sanctuary where work stress dissolves into easy conversation and shared laughter. Inside the confines of his car, they create their own little world, separate from the demanding pace of the pub and the harsh realities of public transportation at midnight. The dashboard light illuminates their faces as they share stories, creating an intimacy that feels both natural and special, a respite from the transactional nature of their professional lives. He begins to see these moments as the highlight of his evening, the reward for enduring another shift of thankless work. The frustration that typically accompanies the end of a long workday transforms into something approaching joy, as he anticipates the conversations that await them on the journey home. Her presence in his passenger seat becomes a symbol of connection in a job that often feels isolating and mechanical. Each night, the trust between them deepens, built on the foundation of consistent kindness and mutual respect that workplace relationships should embody. The beauty of these interactions lies in their apparent authenticity. There's no pretense, no performance, just two people finding genuine connection through shared experience and daily acts of consideration. The stories they exchange reveal layers of personality that the professional environment rarely allows to surface, creating a bond that feels uniquely theirs. He finds himself looking forward to work not just for the paycheck, but for the opportunity to end each day with this meaningful connection. The loyalty he feels toward her grows organically, rooted in the belief that their nightly conversations are building something real and lasting. These moments of vulnerability and openness, rare in workplace settings, convince him that he's witnessing the birth of something significant. The comfort they find in each other's company seems to transcend the typical boundaries of professional relationships, suggesting that true connection can emerge even in the most unlikely circumstances. The environment of mutual respect and genuine care they've created feels like a refuge from the often harsh realities of service industry work. What makes this situation particularly compelling is how it demonstrates the power of consistent small gestures to create deep emotional bonds in professional settings. The simple act of offering transportation becomes a daily affirmation of care and consideration, building a foundation of trust that extends far beyond the workplace. Each conversation reveals new facets of their personalities, creating a sense of intimacy that neither anticipated when this arrangement began. The learning that occurs during these drives isn't just about each other's lives. It's about the possibility of finding genuine human connection in unexpected places. He begins to see her not just as a colleague, but as someone who truly understands the challenges of their shared professional world. The decency he shows her each night feels like an investment in something meaningful, a departure from the often superficial interactions that characterize many workplace relationships. This growing bond represents hope that professional environments can nurture authentic human connections. The transformation of their relationship from professional courtesy to personal connection illustrates how workplace dynamics can evolve when genuine care and consistency intersect. Night after night, the same routine reinforces their bond. The closing of the register, the gathering of belongings, the quiet walk to his car, and the journey through empty streets filled with meaningful conversation. These moments become a masterclass in how trust is built, through reliability, kindness, and the willingness to extend oneself for another's benefit. The professional environment that brought them together becomes secondary to the personal connection they're developing, yet it remains the foundation upon which their relationship stands. His consistent offer of rides demonstrates the kind of workplace loyalty that creates lasting bonds, or so it seems. The anticipation he feels each evening, knowing that another meaningful conversation awaits, transforms the mundane act of commuting into something special. This evolution from professional acquaintance to trusted friend appears to validate the belief that genuine connections can flourish even within the structured confines of workplace relationships. Topic 2. She said, "You're an angel. If it weren't for you, I'd have to take the bus alone at this hour." The power of words in shaping our perception of reality cannot be overstated, especially when those words seem to validate our deepest desires for connection and appreciation. When someone acknowledges our kindness with such heartfelt gratitude, it creates a psychological reward loop that reinforces our behavior and deepens our emotional investment in the relationship. Her words, "You're an angel," carry weight far beyond their literal meaning. They transform a simple act of professional courtesy into something sacred, something that elevates his sense of purpose and self-worth. The timing of this acknowledgement, delivered in the vulnerable hours of late night when defenses are naturally lowered, amplifies its impact exponentially. In the professional environment where recognition is often scarce and genuine appreciation even rarer, such words become precious currency that feeds the soul. The trust implicit in her vulnerability, admitting her fear of traveling alone, creates an intimate bond that transcends typical workplace relationships. This moment crystallizes his role not just as a colleague, but as a protector, a role that carries profound emotional satisfaction and responsibility. The repetition of her gratitude night after night creates a narrative in his mind where he becomes the hero of their shared story, the reliable constant in her otherwise unpredictable world. Each expression of thanks reinforces his belief that their connection is special, built on genuine appreciation rather than mere convenience. The environment they've created, this nightly ritual of care and gratitude, feels like a testament to the possibility of authentic human connection in professional settings. Her words paint him as indispensable, creating a sense of purpose that extends far beyond his job description at the pub. The loyalty he feels toward her deepens with each acknowledgement, each grateful smile, each relieved sigh as she settles into the passenger seat of his car. These moments of recognition become the highlights of his day, transforming routine acts of kindness into meaningful exchanges that validate his character. The learning he absorbs from her responses teaches him that consistency and kindness creates bonds that feel unbreakable. However, the intoxicating nature of such gratitude can sometimes blind us to the underlying dynamics at play, creating emotional investments that may not be reciprocated in the ways we imagine. The very words that seem to cement their bond might also reveal patterns of dependency that extend beyond genuine appreciation into calculated manipulation. As this story unfolds, we'll witness how expressions of gratitude, while seemingly sincere, can sometimes mask intentions that have little to do with the emotional connection they appear to celebrate. The frustration that follows such revelations teaches us to distinguish between authentic appreciation and strategic acknowledgement. Understanding these nuances becomes crucial for anyone navigating workplace relationships where personal and professional boundaries intersect. The deception that often accompanies such situations provides valuable lessons about reading between the lines of human interaction. Sometimes, the most effusive praise masks the most transactional intentions, and recognizing this pattern is essential for protecting our emotional well-being. The beauty of her acknowledgement lies not just in the words themselves, but in the context they create, a narrative where his kindness matters, where his efforts are seen and valued by someone who truly understands their significance. Night after night, her gratitude transforms what could be a mundane commute into a meaningful exchange that validates his character and reinforces his sense of purpose. The professional environment fades into the background as these personal moments take center stage, creating a relationship that feels unique and special. Her appreciation becomes a mirror in which he sees the best version of himself, the kind, reliable, trustworthy person he strives to be. The trust she places in him by sharing her vulnerability about traveling alone at night creates an intimate bond that feels both precious and profound. These expressions of gratitude become the foundation upon which he builds his understanding of their relationship, each thank you adding another layer to his emotional investment. The consistency of her appreciation convinces him that their connection is genuine and lasting. The psychological impact of being viewed as someone's angel cannot be understated. It elevates the giver to a status that feels both humbling and empowering. Her words create a role for him that extends far beyond colleague or acquaintance. They position him as a guardian, a source of safety and comfort in her world. This elevation transforms his simple act of offering rides into something approaching a calling, a responsibility that he embraces with growing dedication. The environment of mutual appreciation they've created feels like proof that workplace relationships can evolve into something deeper and more meaningful. Each night, her gratitude reinforces his belief that he's making a real difference in her life, that his presence provides genuine comfort and security. The learning that occurs through these exchanges teaches him about the power of consistent kindness to create lasting bonds. This pattern of appreciation and response becomes a cornerstone of his understanding of how authentic relationships develop. The ritual of gratitude becomes as important as the ride itself, creating a feedback loop that strengthens their bond with each repetition. Her acknowledgement of his kindness validates not just his actions, but his character, creating a sense of identity that becomes intertwined with their relationship. The loyalty he feels grows not just from her need for transportation, but from her consistent recognition of his efforts, her ability to make him feel valued and appreciated. These moments of gratitude become sacred spaces where his worth is affirmed, and his kindness is celebrated, creating an emotional investment that extends far beyond professional courtesy. The trust implicit in her words, that he is someone she can depend on, someone who makes her feel safe, becomes a responsibility he carries with pride. The professional boundaries that typically govern workplace relationships seem to dissolve in the face of such genuine human connection. Her appreciation transforms him from a mere colleague into someone essential, someone whose presence provides comfort and security in an uncertain world. What emerges from these nightly expressions of gratitude is a relationship that feels built on solid ground, mutual respect, consistent kindness, and genuine appreciation for the other's character and actions. The decency he shows her is met with recognition and thanks, creating a balance that suggests authentic connection rather than one-sided investment. Her words become the soundtrack to their developing relationship, a constant reminder that his efforts matter and his presence is valued. The superation of typical workplace dynamics seems evident in the depth of appreciation she shows, suggesting that their connection transcends professional boundaries. Each expression of gratitude reinforces his belief that they're building something real and lasting, something that validates his faith in the power of human kindness. The environment they've created together, one of mutual care and appreciation, becomes a model for how professional relationships can evolve into meaningful personal connections. The consistency of her thanks convinces him that their bond is genuine, built on a foundation of authentic appreciation rather than mere convenience. The intimate confines of a car create a unique environment where personal boundaries naturally dissolve, transforming strangers into confidants through the simple act of shared journey. Within these four walls, illuminated by dashboard lights and street lamps, conversations flow with an ease that rarely occurs in professional settings, where hierarchy and formality typically govern interactions. The sharing of life stories becomes a sacred ritual, each revelation building upon the last to create a tapestry of mutual understanding that feels both spontaneous and profound. When she begins to share her childhood memories, her dreams, her fears about the future, he listens with the kind of attention that validates her trust and deepens their connection. The exchange of memes, those modern hieroglyphs of humor and cultural understanding, creates a shorthand between them, a private language that speaks to shared sensibilities and compatible worldviews. Music becomes another bridge, as playlists reveal the soundtracks of their souls, creating moments of synchronized emotion when a particular song resonates with both their experiences. This environment of openness and vulnerability convinces him that their relationship is evolving beyond mere workplace courtesy into something genuinely meaningful. The progression from small talk to deeply personal conversations marks a transformation that feels both natural and significant, as if they're peeling back layers of professional persona to reveal their authentic selves. Each night brings new discoveries: her favorite childhood book, his secret ambition to travel, her complicated relationship with her family, his dreams of opening his own establishment someday. These revelations create a sense of intimacy that extends far beyond physical proximity, building emotional closeness through the currency of vulnerability and trust. The learning that occurs through these exchanges isn't just about facts and preferences. It's about understanding the experiences that shaped them into the people they are today. Her laughter at his awkward teenage stories creates bonds of shared humanity, while his empathetic responses to her struggles validate her feelings and deepen her trust in him. The loyalty that develops through these conversations feels organic and mutual, built on the foundation of genuine interest and authentic connection. The professional environment that brought them together becomes secondary to the personal relationship they're cultivating in the sanctuary of his car. The playlist sharing becomes particularly significant as music serves as a window into the soul, revealing emotions and experiences that words alone cannot convey. When she adds a song that perfectly captures a moment they've shared, or when he discovers that her favorite artist mirrors his own taste, these synchronicities feel like signs of deeper compatibility. The car becomes their private concert hall, where songs become the soundtrack to their developing relationship, each melody adding another layer to their shared experience. Her excitement when he introduces her to a new artist, or his surprise when she knows all the words to his favorite obscure track, creates moments of joy that transcend typical workplace interactions. The trust implicit in sharing one's musical preferences, revealing the songs that move you, that make you cry, that energize your soul, creates an intimacy that feels profound and lasting. These moments of musical connection become anchors in his memory, evidence that their bond is special and worth nurturing. The environment they create through shared music transforms routine car rides into meaningful experiences that strengthen their emotional connection. However, what feels like genuine intimacy and mutual vulnerability may sometimes be a one-sided investment, where personal sharing isn't necessarily reciprocated with the same emotional authenticity. The very openness that seems to cement their bond might also create an imbalanced dynamic, where one person invests more deeply than the other, leading to inevitable disappointment when expectations aren't met. As we continue to explore this narrative, we'll uncover how these seemingly perfect moments of connection can sometimes mask underlying intentions that have little to do with genuine relationship building. The frustration that emerges from such realizations teaches us valuable lessons about distinguishing between authentic sharing and strategic engagement designed to maintain beneficial arrangements. Understanding these patterns becomes crucial for protecting our emotional well-being while remaining open to genuine connection. The apprendizado that comes from these experiences, while painful, ultimately makes us wiser navigators of human relationships. Sometimes the most intimate conversations are simply means to an end, and recognizing this reality is essential for emotional self-preservation. The evolution of their conversations from surface-level chit-chat to deeply personal revelations creates a progression that feels like watching a flower bloom, each night revealing new petals of personality and experience. The trust she places in him by sharing her vulnerabilities, her struggles with self-doubt, her complicated family dynamics, her fears about the future, creates a sense of responsibility and connection that extends far beyond their professional relationship. His reciprocal sharing of his own struggles and dreams creates what feels like a balanced exchange, a mutual investment in understanding and supporting each other. The decency they show each other in these vulnerable moments, listening without judgment, and offering support without agenda, creates a bond that feels unshakable. These conversations become the foundation upon which he builds his hopes for their relationship, each shared story adding weight to his belief that something special is developing between them. The environment of trust and openness they've created feels like a rare gift in a world where authentic connection is increasingly difficult to find. The learning that occurs through these exchanges teaches him about the power of vulnerability to create lasting bonds. The sharing of memes and cultural references creates another layer of connection, revealing shared sensibilities and compatible worldviews that suggest deep compatibility. When she sends him a meme that perfectly captures their shared experience at work, or when he shares a funny video that makes her laugh until tears stream down her face, these moments feel like evidence of their special connection. The inside jokes that develop from these exchanges create a private language between them, a shorthand that speaks to their unique bond and shared understanding. Her enthusiasm for his humor and his appreciation for her wit create a feedback loop that reinforces their connection and validates their compatibility. The loyalty that develops through these shared moments of laughter and understanding feels genuine and lasting. Built on the foundation of mutual appreciation and enjoyment, the professional boundaries that typically separate colleagues seem to dissolve in the face of such authentic connection and shared joy. These moments of levity become precious memories that strengthen his belief in the special nature of their relationship. The cumulative effect of these shared experiences, the stories, the music, the laughter, the vulnerability, creates what feels like the foundation of a meaningful relationship, built on genuine connection and mutual understanding. The trust they've established through these intimate conversations convinces him that their bond is special, something that transcends typical workplace relationships and points toward a deeper, more lasting connection. Each night brings new layers of discovery, new reasons to believe that something beautiful is blossoming between them, something worth nurturing and protecting. The confianza that develops through these exchanges feels solid and reciprocal, built on the foundation of consistent sharing and mutual vulnerability. The environment they've created together, one of openness, acceptance, and genuine interest in each other's lives, becomes a sanctuary from the often harsh realities of professional life. The superation of typical workplace boundaries seems evident in the depth of their conversations and the authenticity of their connection. Everything about their developing relationship suggests that his instincts are correct, that something truly special is being born in the intimate space they've created together. Topic 4. On the 4th day, he sent a message saying he was already at the door. The phone showed, "User blocked." The brutal finality of technology in modern relationships reveals itself in moments like these, where 3 simple words on a screen can shatter carefully constructed beliefs about human connection and mutual respect. The transition from anticipated routine to complete digital silence represents one of the most jarring forms of rejection in our interconnected age, where blocking someone doesn't just end communication, it erases their very existence from your digital world. He stands outside her building, keys in hand. The familiar weight of expectation suddenly replaced by the cold realization that something has fundamentally shifted in their carefully cultivated relationship. The phone screen, once a gateway to their daily connection, now displays the harsh verdict of "user blocked," transforming his device from a tool of communication into a messenger of betrayal. The trust he had built over countless conversations and shared moments crumbles in an instant, replaced by the disorienting confusion that comes with sudden, unexplained rejection. The professional environment that had seemed so conducive to genuine connection now feels like a stage where he played a role he never understood, following a script that apparently meant nothing to the other performer. This moment of technological brutality strips away all the nuanced complexity of human relationships, reducing months of apparent intimacy to the binary simplicity of blocked or unblocked. The psychological impact of being digitally erased cannot be understated. It represents a form of rejection that bypasses all human courtesy and leaves the rejected party with no opportunity for understanding or closure. Unlike face-to-face rejection, which at least acknowledges the humanity of both parties, digital blocking creates a void where explanation should exist, leaving only questions and self-doubt in its wake. The loyalty he felt toward their relationship transforms into confusion as he struggles to reconcile the intimacy of their recent conversations with the finality of this digital dismissal. Standing there with his phone displaying that crushing message, he experiences the modern phenomenon of relationship death by notification, where years of apparent connection can be severed with a simple tap of a finger. The environment that had seemed so conducive to authentic human connection suddenly reveals itself as potentially deceptive, a space where genuine emotions can be cultivated in one person while meaning nothing to another. The learning that begins in this moment, painful as it may be, starts to illuminate the difference between authentic connection and one-sided emotional investment. The frustration that builds as he stares at his blocked status represents the collision between expectation and reality that defines so many modern relationships. The timing of this digital rejection, coming just as their routine had become second nature, amplifies the sense of betrayal and confusion that follows such unexpected relationship termination. He had walked to her building with the same sense of anticipation that had marked their previous encounters, the same expectation of meaningful conversation and shared journey that had become the highlight of his evenings. The deception that follows this realization cuts deeper than simple disappointment. It challenges his ability to read human intentions and trust his own judgment about relationships. The professional setting that had seemed to validate their connection now appears in a different light, raising questions about how well we can truly know the people we work alongside every day. The confianza he had placed in their relationship feels misguided in retrospect, as if he had been participating in a play where only he understood his role, while she followed an entirely different script. This moment becomes a harsh teacher, illustrating how digital communication can create the illusion of intimacy while masking the true nature of someone's intentions. The apprendizado that emerges from this experience, while painful, begins to reshape his understanding of workplace relationships and the delicate balance between professional courtesy and personal connection. However, this sudden digital abandonment is merely the beginning of a larger pattern that will reveal the true nature of her intentions and the calculated way in which workplace relationships can be manipulated for personal gain. The blocking isn't just about ending their communication. It's about creating clean separation before engaging in behavior that would be impossible to explain or justify if he retained access to her digital life. As this story continues to unfold, we'll discover how this moment of technological betrayal serves as preparation for an even more devastating revelation about the transactional nature of what he had believed to be genuine connection. The trust that shatters in this moment will seem minor compared to the discoveries that await, teaching valuable lessons about reading the signs of calculated manipulation in professional environments. The loyalty he felt was apparently never reciprocated, and understanding why requires examining the broader context of their workplace dynamic. The environment that had seemed so conducive to authentic relationship building may have been nothing more than a convenient facade for achieving entirely different objectives. Sometimes, the cruelest betrayals are the ones that reveal we never truly knew the person we thought we were connecting with. The mechanical nature of digital blocking strips away all the human elements that make relationships meaningful, reducing complex emotional dynamics to the binary simplicity of connected or disconnected. There's something particularly cruel about this method of relationship termination. It requires no explanation, no confrontation, no acknowledgement of the other person's feelings or investment in the connection. The environment of trust they had carefully constructed over their nightly rides dissolves instantly, replaced by the stark reality that their relationship apparently meant so little to her that it could be ended with a simple finger tap. His phone, once a bridge between their separate lives, becomes a symbol of rejection and confusion, displaying a message that offers no context, no explanation, no pathway to understanding what went wrong. The loyalty he had demonstrated through consistent kindness and reliability seems meaningless in the face of such casual dismissal, teaching him harsh lessons about the difference between genuine appreciation and temporary convenience. The professional boundaries he had believed they were transcending together apparently never existed for her. She was simply maintaining a useful arrangement that could be discarded without ceremony when it was no longer needed. This moment becomes a masterclass in how modern technology can facilitate the cruelest forms of human rejection. The silence that follows digital blocking creates a unique form of psychological torture, where the blocked party is left to fill the void with their own interpretations and self-doubt. Unlike traditional forms of relationship ending, which typically involve some form of communication or explanation, digital blocking creates a vacuum where understanding should exist, forcing the rejected person to become their own worst critic. The trust he had placed in their connection transforms into questions about his own judgment. Had he misread all the signs? Had their conversations meant nothing to her? Had he imagined the intimacy they seemed to share? The frustration that builds in the wake of such unexplained rejection often turns inward, as the blocked party searches for flaws in their own behavior that might explain such sudden abandonment. The decency he had shown her through months of consistent kindness now feels naive, as if his very goodness had been exploited by someone who understood its value while feeling no obligation to reciprocate. The professional environment that had brought them together becomes tainted by this betrayal, raising questions about how genuine any workplace relationship can truly be. The learning that begins in this moment of digital rejection will ultimately prove valuable, though the immediate lesson is simply how vulnerable we become when we invest genuine emotion in relationships that may not be what they appear. The devastating simplicity of user blocked represents the modern evolution of human cruelty, where relationships that took months to build can be destroyed in seconds without explanation or acknowledgement. The technology that had facilitated their daily communication becomes the weapon used to sever it, transforming helpful tools into instruments of emotional harm. Standing outside her building, he experiences the unique disorientation of digital abandonment, still physically present in their shared space but completely erased from her digital existence, as if their connection had never mattered at all. The confianza he had invested in their relationship crumbles under the weight of this inexplicable rejection, teaching him harsh lessons about the fragility of modern connections and the ease with which they can be severed. The loyalty he had shown through consistent acts of kindness apparently counted for nothing, discarded as easily as deleting a contact from a phone. The environment that had seemed so conducive to genuine human connection reveals its potential for facilitating the cruelest forms of rejection, where people can be erased from existence without explanation or courtesy. This moment marks the beginning of his education in the harsh realities of contemporary relationships, where the same technology that brings us together can be used to tear us apart with devastating efficiency. Topic 5. On the weekend, he saw the photo on Instagram, her in the passenger seat of his cousin's car, laughing and tagged date night. The cruel irony of social media lies in its ability to transform private betrayals into public spectacles, where the very platforms designed to connect us become stages for displaying our deepest wounds. The algorithmic cruelty of Instagram's timeline ensures that the most painful revelations often appear at the most unexpected moments, turning casual scrolling into emotional ambush that leaves no time for psychological preparation. There she sits, radiant and carefree in the passenger seat of his cousin's car, her laughter captured in digital permanence along with the devastating caption, "Date Night," that recontextualizes everything he thought he understood about their relationship. The trust he had invested in their nightly conversations and shared vulnerabilities suddenly appears naive, as if he had been performing in a play where everyone knew the ending except him. The professional environment that had seemed to nurture their connection now reveals itself as merely the hunting ground, where she identified her next target, using workplace proximity to assess and access the social connections that truly interested her. The loyalty he had demonstrated through months of consistent kindness transforms into the bitter realization that he had been nothing more than a bridge to someone more appealing, more valuable, more worthy of her actual attention. This moment of digital discovery strips away all illusions about the nature of their relationship, revealing the calculated precision with which some people navigate human connections. The timing of this revelation, posted on a weekend when she knew he would likely be scrolling through social media, carries a particular cruelty that speaks to either complete thoughtlessness or deliberate provocation. The image itself becomes a masterpiece of unintentional psychological warfare, capturing not just her presence in another man's car, but her obvious comfort and joy in that space, emotions that contrast sharply with the mechanical courtesy she had shown him during their professional interactions. The environment of intimacy she creates with his cousin, the easy laughter, the casual physical proximity, the public declaration of romantic intent, stands in stark contrast to the careful boundaries she had maintained with him despite their nightly conversations and shared vulnerabilities. Her happiness in this photo becomes a mirror that reflects the transactional nature of their relationship, showing him exactly what genuine interest looks like and forcing him to acknowledge that he had never been its recipient. The frustration that builds as he studies every detail of the image teaches him painful lessons about the difference between being useful and being valued, between providing service and inspiring desire. The deception cuts deeper than simple romantic rejection. It's the realization that his cousin possessed something that made him instantly worthy of what months of kindness and consistency could never earn. The apprendizado begins immediately. Some people view relationships as strategic games where every connection serves a purpose, and recognizing these players is crucial for emotional survival. The public nature of this revelation amplifies its impact exponentially, transforming private betrayal into social humiliation that extends far beyond the principles involved. Social media's design ensures that this moment of discovery is preserved forever, time-stamped and accessible, creating a digital monument to his misjudgment and her calculated maneuvering. The confianza he had placed in their relationship transforms into embarrassment, as he realizes that others in their social circle may have understood the true nature of their dynamic long before he did. The professional boundaries he thought they were transcending together apparently never existed for her. She was simply maintaining access to his social network while evaluating more appealing options within it. The loyalty he had demonstrated becomes evidence of his naivety rather than his character, a reminder that consistent kindness can be exploited by those who understand its value without feeling obligated to reciprocate it. This Instagram post serves as a public announcement, that their relationship had never been what he believed it to be, that he had been participating in a narrative she had already concluded. The environment of trust they had seemed to build together reveals itself as a carefully constructed illusion designed to maintain access while she pursued her actual objectives. However, this painful moment of digital discovery represents more than just personal betrayal. It illuminates broader patterns of how some individuals navigate professional and social networks to achieve their personal goals. The very ease with which she transitions from his passenger seat to his cousin's reveals a level of strategic thinking that transforms workplace relationships into opportunities for social advancement rather than genuine human connection. As we delve deeper into this dynamic, we'll uncover how the professional environment can become a hunting ground for those who view colleagues not as individuals worthy of respect, but as resources to be evaluated and utilized. The trust that workplace relationships require for basic functionality becomes a vulnerability that can be exploited by those who understand the social capital that professional connections represent. Understanding these patterns becomes crucial for anyone who wants to maintain their emotional well-being while remaining open to authentic workplace relationships. The learning that emerges from recognizing these dynamics, while painful, ultimately protects us from investing genuine emotion in relationships that were never intended to reciprocate that investment. Sometimes, the cruelest lessons teach us the most valuable skills for navigating complex social and professional environments. The calculated precision with which she had maintained their professional relationship while pursuing his cousin reveals a level of social manipulation that transforms workplace dynamics into strategic games with unseen rules and hidden objectives. The months of conversations, shared vulnerabilities, and apparent intimacy now appear as carefully orchestrated performances designed to maintain access to his social network while she evaluated more attractive options within it. The trust he had invested in their late-night conversations becomes evidence of how easily genuine emotion can be exploited by those who understand its value, without feeling any obligation to reciprocate it authentically. The professional environment that had seemed to facilitate their connection was actually providing her with intelligence about his family connections, his social circle, his cousin's availability and appeal. Her consistent gratitude for his rides takes on new meaning when viewed through this lens. Not appreciation for his kindness, but satisfaction with the access it provided to information and opportunities she valued more than the relationship itself. The loyalty he had shown through months of consistent service becomes a cruel irony, as it was precisely this reliability that gave her the security to explore other options without fear of losing her convenient transportation. The decency he had demonstrated becomes a tool in her arsenal, rather than a foundation for mutual respect. The contrast between her mechanical appreciation of his services and her genuine enthusiasm for his cousin's company creates a stark lesson in the difference between transactional relationships and authentic attraction. The same woman who had carefully maintained professional boundaries with him, despite months of intimate conversation, displays immediate comfort and joy in the presence of someone who offers what she actually values. The environment she creates with his cousin, public displays of affection, romantic terminology, obvious physical chemistry, stands in devastating contrast to the careful distance she maintained despite their apparent intimacy. Her laughter in his cousin's car carries an authenticity that was never present in their nightly conversations, revealing exactly how little their relationship had meant to her, despite its obvious importance to him. The frustration that builds from recognizing these differences teaches valuable lessons about reading the signs of genuine interest versus strategic maintenance of useful connections. The apprendizado that emerges from this comparison forces him to acknowledge that their relationship had been fundamentally different for each of them. Genuine connection for him, strategic networking for her. The confianza he had felt was apparently never mutual, existing only in his own interpretation of their interactions. The devastating efficiency with which she transitions from blocking his communication to publicly celebrating her relationship with his cousin reveals a level of strategic thinking that recontextualizes their entire professional relationship. The weekend timing of her Instagram post suggests either complete thoughtlessness about his feelings or deliberate psychological warfare designed to ensure he understood his irrelevance in her life. The image itself becomes a thesis statement about her true priorities, not the consistent kindness and emotional support he had provided, but the material and social advantages his cousin represented. The professional workspace that had brought them together transforms from a place of potential connection into a hunting ground, where she had identified and pursued her actual objective. The superation of workplace boundaries he had believed they were achieving together was actually her methodical breaking down of his defenses to access the social network that contained her real target. The trust that workplace relationships require becomes a vulnerability she had exploited with surgical precision, using his genuine emotions as a tool to maintain access while she pursued what she actually wanted. This moment of digital revelation serves as a masterclass in how professional environments can be manipulated by those who view colleagues as resources rather than individuals worthy of authentic connection and basic human respect. Topic 6. At work, she acted as if nothing had happened. He, as if she was no longer there. The psychological architecture of denial reveals itself most clearly in professional environments, where personal betrayals must coexist with workplace obligations, creating a complex dance of avoidance and pretense that challenges the very foundations of human interaction. She moves through their shared workspace with the practiced ease of someone who has compartmentalized her actions so thoroughly that cognitive dissonance never disturbs her professional performance, maintaining the same pleasant demeanor and efficient work habits that had originally masked her calculating nature. The trust that workplace environments require for basic functionality becomes a stage where she performs normalcy, while he struggles with the impossible task of reconciling the woman who shares their professional space with the person who had orchestrated his emotional manipulation with such clinical precision. Her ability to maintain professional courtesy, the same smile, the same polite greetings, the same collaborative spirit, demonstrates a level of emotional disconnection that transforms their workplace into a theater where only one person knows they're performing. The environment that had once felt conducive to authentic human connection now pulses with the tension of unspoken betrayal, where every interaction carries the weight of unaddressed deception. The loyalty she displays toward their professional obligations stands in stark contrast to the casual cruelty with which she had discarded their personal relationship, teaching harsh lessons about the different standards people apply to different aspects of their lives. Her seamless transition from intimate confidant to professional stranger illustrates how some individuals navigate human relationships with the same strategic thinking they apply to career advancement. The cognitive dissonance required to maintain such professional normalcy after orchestrating personal betrayal speaks to a level of emotional compartmentalization that transforms workplace dynamics into exercises in psychological endurance. She participates in team meetings with the same engaged professionalism, contributes to workplace conversations with the same apparent authenticity, and maintains collegial relationships with the same easy charm that had originally convinced him of her genuine character. The frustration that builds as he watches her perform this act of normalcy forces him to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature and the ease with which some people separate their professional personas from their personal actions. The professional environment becomes a daily reminder of his misjudgment, where her continued presence serves as evidence of how thoroughly he had misunderstood both her character and their relationship. The deception deepens as he observes her interactions with other colleagues, wondering if they too are being evaluated and categorized according to their potential usefulness, rather than valued as individuals worthy of authentic connection. Her ability to maintain workplace relationships while discarding personal ones reveals a strategic mindset that views professional environments as hunting grounds rather than communities. The apprendizado that emerges from watching her navigate these dual realities teaches valuable lessons about recognizing the signs of calculated manipulation disguised as genuine professional collaboration. His response to this workplace gaslighting involves a different kind of performance, the careful construction of emotional invisibility that allows him to function professionally while protecting his psychological well-being from further manipulation. The decision to treat her as if she no longer exists represents a form of emotional self-defense that requires tremendous psychological discipline, transforming routine workplace interactions into exercises in selective blindness. The environment that had once facilitated their connection becomes a minefield, where every shared task requires careful navigation to avoid the emotional triggers that her presence inevitably creates. His professional performance necessarily becomes an act of compartmentalization, where he must maintain workplace efficiency while processing the ongoing psychological impact of working alongside someone who had exploited his trust with such calculated precision. The confianza he once felt toward their professional collaboration transforms into hypervigilance, as he recognizes that her ability to manipulate personal relationships likely extends to her professional interactions as well. The loyalty he demonstrates toward his job requires him to develop new skills in emotional compartmentalization, learning to separate professional obligations from personal feelings in ways that protect his mental health while maintaining his work performance. This transformation from colleague to non-entity represents a form of workplace survival that many people must master when personal betrayals intersect with professional obligations. However, this strategy of mutual pretense creates a toxic workplace dynamic that extends far beyond the two principal players, affecting team cohesion and professional relationships in ways that neither anticipated when their personal drama began. The elephant in the room becomes a constant presence that influences group dynamics, task assignments, and the overall atmosphere of professional collaboration that healthy workplaces require. As we continue to explore this situation, we'll discover how personal betrayals in professional settings create ripple effects that damage workplace culture and force colleagues to navigate complex emotional terrain that has nothing to do with their job responsibilities. The trust that workplace relationships require becomes compromised, not just between the primary participants, but throughout the entire professional environment as colleagues sense the underlying tension without understanding its source. Understanding how to manage these dynamics becomes crucial for anyone who wants to maintain both professional effectiveness and personal emotional health when workplace relationships turn toxic. The learning that emerges from such situations, while painful, ultimately teaches valuable skills for separating personal and professional spheres when necessary. Sometimes the most professional response to personal betrayal is the complete emotional disconnection that allows work to continue, despite the human wreckage that personal relationships can create. The daily performance required to maintain professional functionality while navigating personal betrayal creates a form of workplace trauma that transforms routine interactions into complex psychological exercises. She continues to participate in workplace conversations, contribute to group projects, and maintain professional relationships as if their personal dynamic had never existed, demonstrating a level of emotional compartmentalization that borders on the sociopathic. The environment that had once felt supportive and collegial becomes charged with unspoken tension, where every meeting, every casual interaction, every moment of required professional collaboration serves as a reminder of his misjudgment and her calculated manipulation. Her ability to maintain professional warmth and efficiency while completely ignoring the personal devastation she had caused reveals patterns of behavior that extend far beyond their specific situation. The trust that workplace relationships require becomes impossible to maintain when one person has demonstrated such complete disregard for the emotional well-being of their colleagues. The loyalty she shows toward workplace obligations while displaying none toward personal relationships teaches harsh lessons about the different standards some people apply to different aspects of their lives. The frustration that builds from being forced to work alongside someone who had exploited his genuine emotions becomes a daily test of his professional maturity and emotional resilience. The psychological toll of pretending normalcy while processing betrayal creates a unique form of workplace stress that affects not just job performance, but overall mental health and professional relationships. His decision to treat her as functionally invisible requires constant emotional labor, transforming routine workplace interactions into carefully choreographed performances designed to avoid personal triggers while maintaining professional effectiveness. The decency he had once shown her becomes a liability in this new dynamic as his natural inclination toward courtesy and collaboration conflicts with his need for emotional self-protection. The professional environment forces him to develop new skills in compartmentalization, learning to separate his personal feelings from his work responsibilities in ways that protect his psychological well-being while maintaining his professional reputation. The superation of his initial trust and openness requires him to build new boundaries around workplace relationships, recognizing that professional collaboration doesn't necessarily indicate personal character or relationship reliability. The confianza he once felt toward workplace connections becomes tempered by hard-won wisdom about the difference between professional competence and personal integrity. This transformation from trusting colleague to wary professional represents a form of workplace evolution that protects against future manipulation while potentially limiting opportunities for authentic connection. The stark contrast between their coping strategies reveals fundamental differences in how people process and respond to the intersection of personal and professional relationships. While she maintains seamless professional functionality, as if their personal dynamic had never existed, his visible struggle to compartmentalize demonstrates the emotional impact that genuine investment in relationships creates when those relationships are revealed to be fundamentally dishonest. The workplace becomes a stage where two completely different approaches to human connection play out daily. Her strategic disconnection versus his painful learning process about the realities of workplace manipulation. The environment that had once facilitated what he believed to be authentic connection now serves as a constant reminder of how easily professional relationships can be exploited by those who view colleagues as resources rather than individuals worthy of basic human respect. The aprendizado that emerges from this daily confrontation with calculated normalcy teaches valuable lessons about recognizing the signs of emotional manipulation and developing the psychological defenses necessary to protect against future exploitation. The loyalty he had invested in their relationship becomes a cautionary tale about the importance of reading beneath the surface of professional charm and collaboration. This ongoing workplace drama serves as a masterclass in how personal betrayals create professional complications that extend far beyond the original participants, affecting workplace culture and team dynamics in ways that highlight the interconnected nature of professional and personal relationship skills. Topic 7. A friend of hers commented, "You were just a bridge. She wanted someone with a good car." The devastating clarity that comes from external perspective often reveals truths that internal emotional investment makes impossible to see, transforming months of confusion and self-doubt into brutal understanding that cuts through all the psychological defense mechanisms we construct to protect our wounded pride. When someone outside the emotional maelstrom delivers such surgical precision in their assessment, it strips away all the complex rationalizations and desperate attempts to find alternative explanations for inexplicable behavior. The trust he had invested in their relationship suddenly makes perfect sense when viewed through this lens, not as mutual connection, but as strategic positioning that had nothing to do with his character, his kindness, or his worthiness as a human being. The professional environment that had seemed to nurture authentic relationship building reveals itself as a marketplace where people assess each other's resources rather than their personalities, where workplace connections become opportunities for social and material advancement rather than genuine human bonding. Her friend's casual delivery of this crushing truth, spoken with the matter-of-fact tone of someone revealing obvious information, demonstrates how transparent his situation had been to everyone except himself. The loyalty he had demonstrated through months of consistent kindness transforms from evidence of his character into proof of his naivety, a painful reminder that good intentions can be exploited by those who understand their value without feeling any obligation to reciprocate them. The learning that emerges from this moment of crystalline clarity begins the process of reconstructing his understanding of human nature and workplace relationships. The casual cruelty with which her friend delivers this assessment speaks to a broader social dynamic where some people view romantic and professional relationships as strategic games with clear winners and losers, rather than opportunities for mutual connection and growth. The environment of trust that workplace relationships require becomes toxic when populated by individuals who see colleagues as resources to be evaluated and exploited, rather than human beings worthy of basic respect and honesty. Her friend's matter-of-fact tone suggests that this pattern of behavior is so routine, so expected, that it barely merits comment. A sobering reminder that what felt like devastating personal betrayal to him was simply standard operating procedure in her approach to relationships. The frustration that builds from recognizing how obvious his situation had been to others forces him to confront uncomfortable truths about his own judgment and the rose-colored glasses through which he had viewed their interactions. The deception deepens as he realizes that their entire relationship had been performance art, with her playing the role of grateful colleague while systematically evaluating and positioning herself for access to better options within his social network. The confianza he had felt was apparently visible to everyone as one-sided investment, making his emotional pain a source of social entertainment rather than genuine sympathy. The professional boundaries he thought they were transcending together were actually just convenient camouflage for her systematic evaluation of his family connections and social resources. The reduction of months of apparent intimacy to such transactional simplicity, just a bridge, illuminates the cold calculation that had governed every aspect of their relationship from her perspective. The nightly conversations, the shared vulnerabilities, the expressions of gratitude, the apparent building of trust and connection, all of it recontextualized as strategic maintenance of access to resources she actually valued. The apprendizado that comes from this brutal clarity teaches essential lessons about recognizing the difference between genuine appreciation and strategic manipulation, between authentic connection and calculated positioning for personal advantage. Her friend's assessment strips away all the emotional complexity he had attributed to their relationship, revealing it as a simple transaction where his kindness and reliability were currency used to purchase access to his cousin and his better car. The workplace environment that had seemed to facilitate genuine human connection was actually providing her with a safe space to conduct reconnaissance on his social network while maintaining plausible deniability about her true intentions. The loyalty he had invested in their relationship becomes evidence of how easily genuine emotion can be weaponized by those who understand its power without feeling any obligation to reciprocate it authentically. This moment of truth-telling serves as a masterclass in how some people navigate professional and social relationships with the strategic thinking typically reserved for business negotiations. However, this brutal moment of clarity, while devastating in its immediate impact, represents the beginning of valuable education about reading the signs of calculated manipulation and protecting emotional well-being in professional environments. The very harshness of this revelation serves as inoculation against future exploitation, teaching recognition skills that will prove invaluable in navigating complex workplace and social dynamics. As we continue to explore the aftermath of this situation, we'll discover how such painful learning experiences ultimately strengthen our ability to distinguish between authentic relationship building and strategic positioning disguised as genuine connection. The trust that was violated in this situation becomes the foundation for developing more sophisticated judgment about human intentions and relationship dynamics. Understanding these patterns becomes crucial for anyone who wants to remain open to authentic connection while protecting themselves from those who view relationships as opportunities for advancement rather than mutual growth. The environment that facilitated this manipulation can be transformed into a space for practicing new skills in reading human intentions and maintaining appropriate boundaries. Sometimes the most painful lessons teach us the most valuable skills for navigating complex social and professional relationships with greater wisdom and self-protection. The matter-of-fact delivery of such devastating truth reveals a social environment where this type of manipulation is so common that it barely registers as noteworthy, suggesting that workplace relationship exploitation has become normalized in certain social circles. Her friend's casual tone indicates that she had observed this pattern before, that his situation was neither unique nor particularly surprising in their social dynamic. The trust he had invested in their relationship becomes evidence of his inexperience with this type of calculated manipulation rather than proof of his character flaws or poor judgment. The professional environment that had seemed to support authentic connection was actually serving as hunting ground for someone who had refined the skills necessary to identify and exploit genuine emotion for personal advantage. The decency he had shown her throughout their relationship was apparently discussed and analyzed by her social circle as evidence of his usefulness rather than his character, transforming his kindness into entertainment for those who understood the game being played. The loyalty he had demonstrated becomes a cautionary tale about the importance of recognizing when kindness is being exploited rather than appreciated, when consistency is being used for access rather than valued for its own merit. The superation of his initial trust requires developing new skills in reading social dynamics and recognizing the signs of strategic relationship building versus authentic connection. The surgical precision of the assessment, just a bridge, captures the entire dynamic in terms that leave no room for alternative interpretation or continued self-deception about the nature of their relationship. The months of shared conversations, apparent intimacy, and growing connection reduced to infrastructure that served a purpose before being discarded without sentiment or consideration. The confianza he had felt transforms into hard-won wisdom about the difference between being valued as a person and being useful as a resource, between authentic appreciation and strategic maintenance of beneficial connections. The frustration that initially accompanies this revelation gradually transforms into gratitude for the clarity that prevents continued emotional investment in someone who had never reciprocated his genuine feelings. The professional boundaries he thought they were transcending together were actually just convenient cover for her systematic evaluation of his social network and family connections. Her friend's casual revelation serves as inadvertent education about recognizing patterns of behavior that indicate strategic relationship building rather than genuine human connection. The environment that had seemed so conducive to authentic bonding was actually facilitating a form of social reconnaissance that he had been too emotionally invested to recognize. The transformative power of this brutal honesty lies not in its cruelty, but in its ability to instantly recalibrate his understanding of human relationships and provide protection against future manipulation through enhanced pattern recognition. The learning that emerges from such devastating clarity ultimately proves more valuable than the relationship that prompted it, teaching essential skills for navigating complex social and professional environments with greater wisdom and self-protection. Her friend's assessment becomes an unexpected gift, painful in its delivery, but invaluable in its education about reading beneath the surface of workplace charm and apparent connection. The apprendizado that follows this moment of truth creates foundation for healthier relationship building, based on mutual respect rather than one-sided investment, genuine appreciation rather than strategic positioning. The trust that was violated becomes the basis for developing more sophisticated judgment about human intentions and relationship authenticity. The professional environment that facilitated this manipulation transforms into a classroom for practicing new skills in boundary setting and intention reading. This moment of brutal clarity serves as both ending and beginning, the death of naive trust and the birth of informed wisdom about human nature and the complex dynamics that govern workplace and social relationships in our interconnected world. Topic 8. Months later, he bought a new car with money from a steady job as a bartender. When she asked for a ride, he replied, "Sorry, this route doesn't go back." The poetic justice that emerges from personal growth and professional advancement creates moments of vindication that transcend simple revenge, transforming past betrayals into stepping stones toward better versions of ourselves and more authentic relationships. The steady progression from barback to bartender represents more than career advancement. It symbolizes the superation of circumstances that had once made him vulnerable to exploitation, the development of skills and confidence that attract genuine respect rather than strategic manipulation. His new car, purchased with money earned through consistent hard work and professional dedication, becomes a symbol of self-sufficiency that eliminates the power dynamic she had exploited so effectively in their previous relationship. The trust he now places in his own judgment, tempered by hard-won wisdom about reading human intentions, creates a foundation for relationships based on mutual respect rather than one-sided investment. The professional environment that had once felt like a minefield now serves as a space where he can practice new skills in boundary setting and intention recognition, transformed from site of betrayal into classroom for emotional intelligence. The loyalty he demonstrates toward his own growth and well-being creates the strength necessary to recognize and reject attempts to re-establish exploitative dynamics. The confianza he had once invested in her apparent gratitude now protects him from making the same mistake twice, serving as internal warning system against future manipulation. The timing of her request, coming months after her cruel dismissal and public humiliation of their relationship, reveals a level of audacity that speaks to either complete lack of self-awareness or calculated testing of his boundaries and emotional resilience. Her assumption that she could simply re-enter his life and request the same services she had once taken for granted demonstrates the mindset of someone who views relationships as resources to be activated when convenient, rather than connections that require consistent nurturing and respect. The frustration that might have accompanied such brazen entitlement transforms into amusement as he recognizes the perfect opportunity to demonstrate how much he has learned from their previous interaction. The deception that had once characterized his understanding of their relationship becomes clarity about her character and the patterns of behavior that define her approach to human connections. The professional environment that had once made him vulnerable to her manipulation now provides the stage for demonstrating growth, wisdom, and the kind of self-respect that attracts authentic relationships while repelling exploitative ones. The apprendizado that emerged from their previous dynamic enables him to recognize this moment as a test of his new boundaries, rather than an opportunity for reconciliation or forgiveness. Her request becomes inadvertent validation of his transformation, proof that his growth has been visible, and his new circumstances appealing enough to warrant her renewed interest. The elegance of his response, "Sorry, this route doesn't go back," captures months of personal growth and hard-won wisdom in a single sentence that communicates both rejection and education without descending into cruelty or bitterness. The metaphor speaks to more than just transportation. It addresses the fundamental impossibility of returning to relationship dynamics that were built on exploitation and maintained through emotional manipulation. The environment of mutual respect that healthy relationships require cannot be constructed on the foundation of betrayed trust and calculated deception that characterized their previous interaction. His response demonstrates the kind of emotional intelligence that recognizes when forgiveness becomes enabling, when second chances become opportunities for repeated manipulation rather than genuine redemption. The confianza he now demonstrates toward his own judgment protects him from the kind of emotional vulnerability that had made him susceptible to her previous exploitation. The loyalty he shows toward his own growth and well-being creates the strength necessary to maintain boundaries even when doing so might appear harsh or unforgiving to outside observers. The professional advancement that made this moment possible serves as evidence that focusing on personal development rather than relationship drama creates outcomes that attract respect rather than exploitation. However, this moment of vindication represents more than just personal triumph. It illustrates broader principles about how professional growth and emotional intelligence can transform power dynamics and protect against future manipulation in workplace environments. The very skills that enabled his career advancement from barback to bartender, consistency, reliability, emotional regulation under pressure, also equipped him with the tools necessary to recognize and reject exploitative relationship patterns. As we reflect on this complete narrative arc, we see how workplace betrayals, while painful in the moment, can become catalysts for personal growth that ultimately leads to stronger professional performance and healthier relationship dynamics. The trust that was violated in their original interaction becomes the foundation for developing more sophisticated judgment about human intentions and relationship authenticity. Understanding these patterns becomes crucial for anyone navigating complex workplace and social environments where personal and professional relationships intersect. The learning that emerges from such experiences, while painful initially, ultimately creates protection against future exploitation while maintaining openness to authentic connection. Sometimes, the greatest gift we can give ourselves is the wisdom to recognize when relationships are worth rebuilding and when they're better left in the past. The transformation that this moment represents extends far beyond the specific dynamic between these two individuals, illustrating how professional advancement and emotional growth can shift power balances and create opportunities for healthier relationship boundaries. His progression from vulnerable barback dependent on others' schedules to successful bartender with his own reliable transportation symbolizes the kind of personal development that makes exploitation impossible and authentic connection more likely. The environment that had once made him susceptible to manipulation, financial insecurity, professional instability, emotional vulnerability, has been replaced by circumstances that attract respect rather than opportunism. The decency he had once shown her, which was exploited as weakness, now becomes strength that enables him to maintain boundaries without bitterness or cruelty. The frustration that had once accompanied his confusion about her behavior transforms into confidence in his ability to read intentions and protect his emotional well-being. The superation of his previous circumstances creates foundation for relationships based on mutual benefit, rather than one-sided dependency, attraction rather than convenience. His response demonstrates the kind of emotional maturity that recognizes when past relationships cannot be rehabilitated because they were never authentic to begin with. The strategic brilliance of his response lies in its ability to communicate complete rejection while maintaining professional courtesy and personal dignity, refusing to engage in the kind of drama that would diminish his own character or professional reputation. The metaphor of roots and destination speaks to fundamental incompatibility rather than personal animosity, suggesting that their paths simply don't align rather than that she is unworthy of basic human consideration. The confianza he demonstrates in his own judgment enables him to maintain this position without extensive explanation or justification, recognizing that people who exploit genuine kindness rarely respond to rational discussion about relationship boundaries. The loyalty he shows toward his own growth and well-being creates the strength necessary to resist any guilt or manipulation that might accompany her reaction to his rejection. The professional environment that had once facilitated her exploitation now serves as witness to his transformation, demonstrating to colleagues and observers the kind of personal growth that commands respect. The apprendizado that enabled this moment of perfect response becomes template for handling future attempts at manipulation or exploitation, whether in professional or personal contexts. This interaction serves as masterclass in how emotional intelligence and professional growth can transform victims of workplace manipulation into individuals who command respect and attract authentic relationships. The profound satisfaction that accompanies this moment of vindication speaks not to petty revenge, but to the deep human need for justice and the validation that comes from demonstrating personal growth in the face of past betrayals. His ability to maintain composure and dignity, while firmly rejecting her attempt to reestablish their previous dynamic, illustrates the kind of emotional regulation that successful professionals must develop to navigate complex workplace relationships. The trust he now places in his own judgment, tempered by experience but not hardened by bitterness, creates foundation for future relationships that will be built on mutual respect rather than exploitation. The environment that had once made him vulnerable, the late-night service industry with its casual boundaries and emotional exhaustion, now serves as space where he can practice and demonstrate the leadership skills that successful bartenders must possess. The loyalty he demonstrates toward his own values and boundaries sends clear message about his transformation from someone who could be exploited to someone who commands respect through consistency and self-awareness. The professional advancement that made this moment possible serves as evidence that focusing on personal development rather than relationship drama creates outcomes that attract authentic connection while repelling those who seek to exploit kindness for personal gain. This moment becomes capstone to a narrative of transformation that illustrates how workplace betrayals, while painful, can become catalysts for the kind of personal growth that ultimately leads to more fulfilling professional and personal relationships built on foundations of mutual respect and authentic appreciation. Don't let these hard-won lessons go to waste. Share your own experiences. Protect your colleagues from similar manipulation, and remember that wisdom shared multiplies its protective power. Subscribe to this channel and activate notifications, because understanding workplace psychology isn't a one-time lesson. It's an ongoing education that will transform how you navigate professional relationships for the rest of your career. Your future self will thank you for the boundaries you build today.